Can I tell the story? It's a pretty funny
Yeah,
story. I'll
yeah, yeah,
tell the
go for it.
story. So I was living in a van, traveling around Europe, street performing. You were living in a van, building apps, traveling Europe. And then one day I get this email from you saying, "Hi, I made this app called Loopy HD." I already knew Loopy HD because there was like 2 or 3 loopers in the App Store, which I'd downloaded them all and I was playing with them.
Right.
And you're like, "Can you make a video? I'll pay you a couple of grand to make a video." I was like, "What? Okay, I'll take your money. I'll make a video for this app," because I probably would have done it anyway, actually. Nudge, nudge.
Ah, now
And
you're
so
telling me.
yeah, well, no, I probably wouldn't have. I was pretty lazy. But anyway, like, so I made the video, put it online, didn't think too much of it. And then fast forward, I don't know, like that was 2011 when you reached out to do that video. And then I think it must have been 2012. So it was a year later or a year and a half later or so. And I was then having breakfast at a cafe in Callista, I think it was, which is a tiny little village of the Olinda area, the Dandenong Ranges in Melbourne, in a forest. Maybe 1,000 people live in Callista, and I'm sitting there having breakfast, and I hear this voice saying, "Are you Ben Stanford?" And I'm thinking there must be someone from my school or something because no one calls me Ben Stanford, right? And I'm like, yeah, like, who are you? You're like, "My name's Mike Tyson. You did the video for Loopy HD, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, shit, that's right." And it
That's
was
so
just like
weird.
the most random coincidence that turned out that you lived like a kilometer away from me, which is basically in the forest. That's basically neighbors. There's probably about
Yeah.
15 houses between you and me. So that was pretty crazy.
I didn't even like when I first heard about you. I don't know why, but I thought you were British. I didn't even know you were Australian. I'm like, I recognize that freaking voice in this cafe, and looked over, and yeah, it's nuts.
That's crazy. But yeah, so that was it. Like yeah, that was crazy. So I don't know. Then you started coming up, we started hanging out a fair bit, and you kept asking me questions and you were telling me about Loopy Pro. And I guess it probably took a few years of us just chatting and you
Yeah.
telling me about, and also both of our ladies got pregnant exactly the same time. I think our children are like 2 months apart or something.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah. It
right?
was nuts. So we had lots of play dates.
That's right. So we were constantly going out for breakfast, and you
Yeah.
kept on asking me questions about, what the perfect loop station would look like. And I was just in my head, I'm like, well, I've already got my setup that I tour with. I don't need to update. I'll never use the iPad as a loop
Yeah.
station,
Sure. I learned
you
something
know?
new.
Yeah, and you kept exactly why, and also, I don't know, just seemed like too much work or something. I don't know. I just was like, nah, I've got my setup. I don't need anything else. And then you came around one day to shoot a video because like you were doing something, and you set it all up with my gear. And I remember the first time that was still HD, and I was
Yeah.
quite impressed. I was like, oh wow, that actually worked. I remember noticing it was super responsive, and you actually managed to make it work with my GT10B as the controller. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that I don't even need a controller. I can actually use the GT10B to be the controller to make the loop station work. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And then you kept asking me more questions. And then one day you got me to use Loopy Pro. It had come out. And also turned out that the mixer that I use, which is the Allen and Heath Q-Pack, happens to be an interface and has OS capabilities. And so I was just like, well, technically, it would basically work if I just used that with a hub and a controller. And I basically tried it. I plugged it all in, and I was like, this is the future. And by doing it and just using it, I realized, oh, this is way better. Because I used to have to use the RC505 and a drum machine to run my backing tracks and my drum tracks and the loop station in it. And now it's all consolidated into basically just the iPad and a controller.